Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Before we get into tonight's game, I wanted to ask a question. Do you have extra cards lying around that you don't use? Want to buy or trade for some extra cards but don't know how to maximize the value? Then you should try out today's sponsor, Card Conduit. Card Conduit is the best service when it comes to selling your extra cards. Don't waste hours trying to find the best buy list price for your cards online. Simply send them to Card Conduit and let them take care of the rest. I have used Card Conduit multiple times already. I always use them to get the best value for my extra cards. I get fair prices for my cards and they save me tons of time. They have three main services. Their standard service lets you send them your unsorted cards of any value. They will sort, grade, and give you the best price for your cards. Their curated service is similar. Send them your unsorted cards worth over $1 in value. They will charge half the fee of the standard service and charge no fee per card. Their sorted service is a great value as well. Choose cards in advance with their selection tool, send them sorted to Card Conduit, and they will grade and buy list them automatically. Save yourself the time of having to send to multiple sites and let Card Conduit do it instead. Their fee is only 2% with no fee per card. They give you the best price for your cards. They work with competitive buy listing partners, including ones not open to the public. Users get an average of 19% more for their collection than they would from any major retail buy list, even with Card Conduit's fees. Card Conduit also optimizes buy listing for card condition as well. Since vendors have different penalties for wear and tear, Card Conduit will find the best buy list priced against the specific condition of the card. So give Card Conduit a try today. If you sign up with my link in the description below or use the promo code POWER, you will also get 10% off of their fees when you use their service. A big thanks to Card Conduit for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Alana piloting Rakdos Sacrifice with Jegantha the Wellspring as the companion. This deck loops Cauldron Familiar and Witch's Oven or uses Mayhem Devil to ping for the win. Alana's opening hand contains a Cauldron Familiar, Unlucky Witness, Blood Tithe Harvester, Fatal Push, Blood Crypt, Swamp, and a Takenuma the Abandoned Mire. Next, we have Zeb piloting Azban Greasefang. This deck uses Greasefang's powerful ability to cheat a Perhelion II into play and win through combat. His opening hand contains a Greasefang Okiba Boss, Blooming Marsh, Fatal Push, Witherbloom Command, Overgrown Tomb, Beseiju Who Endures, and his Lena Mulligan is an Asika's Chariot. Without further ado, let's kick off this mysteriously magical momentous match. Alana was able to stay awake the longest and gets to start us off. Alana plays a Blood Crypt into play untapped, paying 2 life. She casts Unlucky Witness. She passes. Zeb draws and plays a Blooming Marsh. He passes. Alana draws and plays a Swamp. She moves to combat and attacks with Unlucky Witness. Zeb takes the hit, and in her second main phase, she casts Blood Tithe Harvester. It enters, and she creates a blood token. She ends her turn. At the end of Alana's turn, Zeb casts Fatal Push, destroying Blood Tithe Harvester. Zeb draws and plays an Overgrown Tomb into play untapped, paying 2 life. He casts Witherbloom Command. Alana loses 2 life, and Zeb mills 3, including Greasefang Okiba Boss, returning Concealed Courtyard to his hand. He ships the turn to Alana. Alana draws and plays a Sekenzan, Crucible of Defiance. She moves to combat and attacks with Unlucky Witness. Zeb takes the hit, and in her second main phase, she casts Fable of the Mirror Breaker. It gets its first counter, and Alana creates a 2/2 Goblin. She ends her turn. Zeb draws and plays a Concealed Courtyard. He casts Can't Stay Away, returning Greasefang Okiba Boss from his graveyard to the battlefield. He channels Beseiju Who Endures, targeting Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Fable is destroyed, and Alana fetches up a Blood Crypt into play untapped, paying 2 life. Zeb passes. At the end of Zeb's turn, Alana casts Fatal Push with Revolt, targeting Greasefang. Fatal Push resolves, and Greasefang is exiled due to Can't Stay Away. Alana draws and moves to combat. She attacks with her Goblin and Witness. Goblin triggers and she creates a treasure. Zeb takes a hit, and in her second main phase, she casts Cauldron Familiar. It enters, and Zeb loses 1 life. She casts a second Cauldron Familiar. It enters, and Zeb loses another life. She pays 3 to put Jegantha the Wellspring into her hand. She gives the turn to Zeb. Zeb draws and casts Greasefang Okiba Boss. He ends his turn. During her upkeep, Alana cracks a blood token, discarding and drawing. She draws for turn and casts Fatal Push with Revolt, destroying Greasefang. She moves to combat and attacks Zeb with everything. Goblin triggers and she creates a treasure. Zeb takes the hit, and in her second main phase, she casts Blood Tithe Harvester. It enters, and she creates a blood token. She passes. Zeb draws and casts another Greasefang Okiba Boss, hoping this time it will stick. He gives the turn to Alana. Alana draws and casts Thoughtseize. Zeb reveals his hand, discards Greasefang, and Alana loses 2 life. She sacrifices her blood token, discarding and drawing. She moves to combat and attacks with all of her creatures. Goblin triggers and she creates a treasure. Zeb blocks the Shaman with Greasefang, the Shaman dies, and Zeb takes the rest. In her second main phase, Alana plays a Black Cleave Cliffs into play tapped. She ships the turn. Zeb draws and then delves away some of his graveyard to help cast Tasigur the Golden Fang. He channels Takenuma, Abandoned Mire, discarding it, milling 3 cards, and returning Greasefang to his hand. He passes. Alana draws and moves to combat. She attacks Zeb with everything. Zeb blocks Blood Tithe with Tasigur and Cauldron Familiar with Greasefang. Then Zeb takes the rest, dies, and Alana wins the game. Before Game 2, Alana moves to sideboard. She brings in 1 Rending Volley and 1 Ray of Enfeeblement for removal, and 2 Unlicensed Hearse and 2 Go Blank for Graveyard Hate. She takes out 3 Unlucky Witness, 1 Claim the Firstborn, 1 Furnace Rains, and a Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. Zeb also moves to sideboard. He brings in 3 Thoughtseize for interaction, and 2 Unlicensed Hearse and 2 Graveyard Trespassers for Graveyard Hate. He takes out 3 Liliana of the Veil and 4 Asika's Chariots. In this game, Zeb's opening hand contains a Fatal Push, Satyr Wayfinder, Parhelion II, Concealed Courtyard, Thoughtseize, Greasefang, Okiba Boss, and a Temple Garden. Alana's opening hand contains a Blight Step Pathway, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Witch's Oven, Mayhem Devil, Unlicensed Hearse, Blood Tithe Harvester, and a Swamp. And Zeb gets to start us off. Zeb plays a Concealed Courtyard for turn. He casts a Thoughtseize. Alana reveals her hand, discards Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and Zeb loses 2 life. He gives the turn to Alana. Alana draws and plays a Swamp. She casts Witch's Oven. She passes. Zeb draws and plays a Temple Garden into play untapped, paying 2 life. He casts Satyr Wayfinder. It enters and he mills 4, returning Blooming Marsh to his hand. Zeb ends his turn. Alana draws and plays a Steer Step Pathway. She casts Unlicensed Hearse. She ships the turn. Zeb draws and plays a Blooming Marsh. He delves 3 to help cast Tasigur, the Golden Fang. He moves to combat and attacks with Satyr Wayfinder. Alana takes it and Zeb passes. Alana draws and casts Blood Tithe Harvester. It enters and she creates a blood token. Alana ends her turn. Zeb draws and plays a Branch Loft Pathway. He moves to combat and attacks with Tasigur and Wayfinder. Alana blocks Wayfinder with Blood Tithe Harvester, Wayfinder dies, and she takes the rest. Zeb gives the turn to Alana. At the end of Zeb's turn, Alana activates her Unlicensed Hearse, exiling Wayfinder and Greasefang from Zeb's graveyard. Alana draws and casts Blood Tithe Harvester. It enters and she creates a blood token. She passes. At the end of Alana's turn, Zeb activates Tasigur. He mills 2 cards and Alana chooses to return Grizzly Salvage to his hand. Zeb draws and plays a Temple Garden into play untapped, paying 2 life. He moves to combat and attacks with Tasigur. Alana blocks with both Harvesters. Before damage, Zeb activates Tasigur. He mills 2 and returns Satyr Wayfinder to his hand. Tasigur and the 2 Blood Tides die, and Zeb passes. At the end of Zeb's turn, Alana activates her Unlicensed Hearse, exiling Tasigur and Rafine's Informant from Zeb's graveyard. Alana draws and sacrifices both blood tokens, discarding and drawing twice. Not finding what she wants, she gives the turn to Zeb. Zeb draws and casts Satyr Wayfinder. It enters, Zeb mills 4, and he returns Bright Climb Pathway to his hand. He plays Bright Climb Pathway as his land for turn. He casts Greasefang, Okiba Boss. Zeb moves to combat, and in response, Alana activates her Unlicensed Hearse, exiling 2 Unlicensed Hearse from Zeb's graveyard. With no other actions, Zeb decides to pass the turn. Alana draws and casts Thoughtseize. Zeb reveals his hand, discards a Grizzly Salvage, and Alana loses 2 life. She casts Rending Volley, dealing 4 damage to Greasefang, killing it. She ends her turn. Zeb draws and moves to combat, attacking with his Satyr Wayfinder. Alana takes the hit, and Zeb passes. At the end of Zeb's turn, Alana activates Unlicensed Hearse, exiling Greasefang and Grizzly Salvage from Zeb's graveyard. Alana draws and plays a Black Cleave Cliffs. She casts Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Fable enters, gets its first counter, and Alana creates a 2/2 Goblin. She gives the turn to Zeb. At the end of Alana's turn, Zeb casts Fatal Push, targeting the Goblin. In response, Alana activates Witch's Oven, sacrificing the Goblin, creating a food. Fatal Push fizzles, and the turn moves to Zeb. Zeb draws and plays an Overgrown Tomb into play untapped, paying 2 life. He casts Parhelion II. He ends his turn. At the end of Zeb's turn, Alana activates her Hearse, exiling Fatal Push and Blooming March from Zeb's graveyard. Alana draws, and in her first main phase, Fable of the Mirror Breaker triggers. It gets a counter, and Alana discards 2 and draws 2. She plays a Hive of the Eye Tyrant into play tapped. She casts Witch's Oven. She passes. Zeb draws and casts Greasefang, Okiba Boss. He taps Greasefang to crew Parhelion II. He moves to combat and attacks with Parhelion. It triggers, and Zeb creates 2 attacking 4/4 angels. Before damage, Alana casts Ray of Enfeeblement, giving one of the angels -4/-4, killing it. She takes the rest, and Zeb ships the turn. At the end of Zeb's turn, Alana activates her Hearse, exiling 2 cards from Zeb's graveyard. Alana draws, and in her first main phase, Fable gets its final counter. Alana exiles it and returns Reflection of Kiki Jiki onto the battlefield. She plays a Blight Step Pathway. She thinks for a second, decides that she's not going to be able to beat Parhelion, concedes, and Zeb wins the game. In this game, Alana's opening hand contains a Takanuma Abandoned Mire, Cauldron Familiar, Black Cleave Cliffs, Den of the Bugbear, Deadly Dispute, Fatal Push, and her London Mulligan is a Swamp. Zeb's opening hand contains an Overgrown Tomb, 3 Rafine's Informant, Can't Stay Away, Concealed Courtyard, and his London Mulligan is a Temple Garden. And Alana gets to start us off. Alana plays a Black Cleave Cliffs. She casts Cauldron Familiar. It enters, and Zeb loses 1 life. She passes. Zeb draws and plays an Overgrown Tomb into play tapped. He ships the turn. Alana draws and plays a Den of the Bugbear. She moves to combat and attacks with Cauldron Familiar. Zeb takes the hit, and Alana ends her turn. Zeb draws and plays a Concealed Courtyard. He casts Rafine's Informant. It enters, and Zeb connives another Rafine's informant, putting a 1/1 counter onto his original informant. Zeb gives the turn to Alana. At the end of Zeb's turn, Alana casts Deadly Dispute, sacrificing Cauldron Familiar as an additional cost. She draws 2 and creates a treasure. Still in the end step, she casts Fatal Push, with result destroying Rafine's informant. The turn moves to Alana. Alana draws and plays a Blood Crypt, into play untapped, paying 2 life. She casts Blood Tithe Harvester. It enters, and she creates a blood token. She passes. Zeb draws and plays a Temple Garden, into play tapped. He ships the turn to Alana. Alana draws and plays a Sulphurous Springs. She moves to combat and attacks with Harvester. Zeb takes the hit, and in her second main phase, she pays 3 to put Jegantha into her hand. She gives the turn to Zeb. At the end of Alana's turn, Zeb casts Grisly Salvage. He reveals the top 5 cards of his library, putting Takanuma, Abandoned Mire into his hand and the rest into his graveyard. Zeb draws and plays a Swamp. He casts Satyr Wayfinder. It enters, and he mills 4, returning an Overgrown Tube to his hand. He casts Rafine's Informant. It enters, and Zeb connives a land. He passes. At the end of Zeb's turn, Alana casts Fatal Push, destroying Rafine's Informant. Alana draws and sacrifices a blood token, discarding and drawing. She moves to combat and attacks with Blood Tithe. Zeb takes a hit, and in her second main phase, she casts another Blood Tithe Harvester. It enters, and she creates a blood token. She ends her turn. Zeb draws and casts Thoughtseize. Alana reveals her hand, discards Rending Volley, and Zeb loses 2 life. He casts Grisly Salvage. He reveals the top 5, putting Graveyard Trespasser into his hand and the rest into his graveyard. He plays a Takanuma, Abandoned Mire as his land for turn. He casts Can't Stay Away, returning Greasefang from his graveyard to the battlefield. He moves to combat, and Greasefang triggers. He returns Parhelion II to the battlefield with haste. He crews Parhelion and attacks Alana. It triggers, and Zeb creates 2 attacking 4/4 angels. Alana takes 13, and Zeb passes. At the end of Zeb's turn, he returns Parhelion to his hand. Still in the end step, Alana sacrifices a blood token, discarding and drawing. Alana draws, takes no actions, and passes. Zeb draws and moves to combat. Greasefang triggers, and he returns Parhelion II from his graveyard to the battlefield with haste. He crews Parhelion with Greasefang and attacks with everything. Parhelion triggers, and Zeb creates 2 more attacking angels. Alana takes it all, dies, and Zeb wins the match. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great match. Congrats to Zeb on his win. Alana tried her best to slow down Greasefang with some graveyard hate and interaction, but Zeb was able to stick Parhelions to win the match. Unfortunately, Alana was also kept busy with interacting with Zeb's board, so she struggled to assemble her own combos. The most valuable card in tonight's game, sponsored by Luxury Playstyle, goes to Greasefang, Okiba Boss. The ability to use this card and cheat 13 damage on the board for only 3 is a very powerful strategy. Once it gets a single combat, that's all it takes to completely overwhelm the opponent, as we saw tonight. Well, that about wraps it up for this Pioneer match. What deck would you like to see next? Interested in more Pioneer? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.